The world was jolted awake by the news, an event so sudden and shocking that it seemed almost unreal at first. 2 U.S. Navy aircraft downed in the South China Sea within just half an hour, sending shockwaves through military and diplomatic circles alike. Not just any planes, an F/A-18 Super Hornet, the backbone of carrier air wings, and a P-8 Poseidon, America's premier maritime patrol aircraft, both vanishing in the region's most volatile waters, where tensions already simmered. Initial reports were chaos, military jargon, wild speculation, and a chilling sense that this was no mere accident. The world's eyes turned to the South China Sea, searching for answers. Was it mechanical failure, a sophisticated cyber attack, or something far more direct and deliberate? Theories multiplied as officials scrambled for information. The Pentagon and Beijing both went into crisis mode, their leaders convening emergency meetings. The South China Sea instantly became the epicenter of global tension, with every move watched and analyzed. The fate of the crews was unknown, the cause a mystery. Families waited in agony, and the world's media camped on every new detail. But the implications were clear. This was more than a military loss. It was a strategic shockwave, reverberating through alliances and adversaries alike. The loss of 2 advanced aircraft in such quick succession struck at U.S. prestige and operational capability, raising uncomfortable questions about vulnerability. These weren't just machines, they were symbols of American power, resolve, and commitment to freedom of navigation in contested waters. Their sudden removal sent a message of vulnerability, raising the stakes for every U.S. operation in the region and putting all eyes on the next move. For the 7th Fleet, the danger was no longer abstract. It was immediate, personal, and impossible to ignore. Every patrol, every flight, now carried the weight of real, immediate risk. The sense of unease was palpable among the crews. The South China Sea, once a map of lines and zones, had become a graveyard, a place where power and peril collided. The questions hung heavy: accident, attack, or something in between. The search for truth became a race against time. The world held its breath, waiting for answers, as uncertainty rippled across continents. The balance of power had shifted, if only for a moment, but with consequences that could last for years. And everyone knew, nothing would be the same. The world had entered a new, more dangerous chapter. The U.S. Navy sprang into action, destroyers and helicopters racing to the crash sites, engines roaring across the waves. The urgency was palpable. Every second counted as crews prepared for the unknown. The mission was clear: find survivors, secure the wreckage, and recover the black boxes that held the truth. Each piece of debris pulled from the water was a potential clue, a fragment of a much larger puzzle. In Washington, the first priority was de-escalation. Officials opened a direct line to Beijing, warning against interference and urging restraint, knowing that a single misstep could spiral out of control. Every move was calculated, every word scrutinized. The stakes were higher than ever, and the margin for error was vanishingly small. The world watched as the U.S. tried to project strength without provoking a wider conflict. Allies and rivals alike analyzed every development, searching for signs of weakness or resolve. Meanwhile, a battle for the narrative erupted. Newsrooms buzzed with speculation, and social media became a battleground of opinions and misinformation. The Pentagon released only sparse details, fueling speculation and disinformation online. The lack of answers only deepened the sense of crisis. Chinese media accused the U.S. of reckless provocation, while rumors of new electronic warfare swirled. The information war was as fierce as the one at sea. On the water, Chinese vessels shadowed the American search, testing nerves and rules of engagement. Every maneuver was watched, every signal analyzed. U.S. commanders faced split-second decisions: how close to let the Chinese get, what counted as interference, and when to stand firm. The tension was relentless. The search for answers became a test of nerve and restraint. Every action risked escalation, and every hesitation could be seen as weakness. The black boxes were now the most valuable objects in the South China Sea, holding secrets that could shift the balance of power. The stakes were enormous, not just the truth, but the next move in a dangerous game. Every decision was a gamble with global consequences. The world's eyes were fixed on a patch of ocean where one wrong step could mean war. Leaders everywhere braced for what might come next. The crisis was no longer just about lost aircraft, it was about who would control the story and the future. The clock was ticking and the outcome was far from certain, and the margin for error was razor thin. Every heartbeat echoed with the possibility of history changing in an instant. Beijing's response was calculated, offering help while subtly asserting its claim over the sea. State media painted the US as the aggressor, blaming American recklessness for the incident. Online, China's information warriors flooded platforms with rumors and doctored images, sowing confusion. The goal erode US credibility, muddy the waters, and shape global perception. This was modern conflict, fought as much with narratives as with ships and planes. By controlling the story, China aimed to isolate the US and deter others from challenging its claims. The dual crashes became a propaganda windfall used to push the US out and cement China's role as regional hegemon. The battle for the black boxes was matched by a battle for hearts and minds. In the information age, perception was power, and Beijing was determined to win. In Washington, the instinct was to show strength, drafting plans for more ships, more flyovers, a visible show of resolve. But the risk of escalation loomed large. What if the crashes were deliberate? What if they weren't? The president faced a dilemma: respond too forcefully and risk war, or too weakly and appear vulnerable. The Navy's strain was exposed. Years of high tempo, stretched resources, and mounting fatigue. Could this be the cost of overextension? Ultimately, the US chose measured resolving search and rescue under heavy guard, firm but cautious diplomacy, and close coordination with allies. This was a time for steady nerves, not rash moves. The world watched to see if America's resolve would hold. The crisis was a test, not just of power, but of judgment. This crisis echoed history, most notably the 2001 Hainan Island incident, when a US surveillance plane collided with a Chinese jet. That moment marked a turning point, thrusting both nations into a tense diplomatic standoff that captured the world's attention and set the stage for future confrontations. That standoff set the tone for 2 decades of tense encounters and gray zone tactics, where both sides tested boundaries without triggering outright conflict. Since then, near misses and aggressive intercepts have become routine, each one a test of American resolve and a signal of China's growing confidence in the region. China's strategy is clear: harass, intimidate, and push US forces further from its shores, without crossing the line into open war, using every opportunity to assert its claims. The current scramble for wreckage isn't just about answers, it's about keeping advanced US technology out of Chinese hands, and about controlling the narrative in a high-stakes information war. These incidents reveal a pattern. China probes, the US responds, and the risk of escalation grows with every encounter, raising the stakes for both sides. The dual crashes fit this pattern, a symptom of 2 great powers colliding in a confined space, where every move is scrutinized and every miscalculation could have global consequences. One seeks to uphold the international order, the other to rewrite it, each determined to shape the future of the region according to its own vision. The South China Sea is now the stage for the central drama of the 21st century, where the world's major powers compete for dominance and influence. Every incident is a move in a larger game, a test of strategy, patience, and resolve. The stakes, control, influence, and the future of the region could not be higher as both sides maneuver for advantage. The past is prologue, and the next chapter is being written now. The world is watching, waiting to see how this high-stakes contest will unfold. The relentless pace of US operations in the Indo-Pacific comes at a cost. Ships and planes are pushed to their limits, crews face constant pressure and fatigue. High operational tempo means compressed maintenance, more wear and tear, and a greater risk of mechanical failure. Fatigue impairs judgment. Even the best-trained aviators can make fatal mistakes under stress. Investigators will scrutinize every log, every decision, searching for signs of strain. The possibility remains. These crashes may be tragic accidents, not acts of war. But in this environment, even accidents can spiral into crisis. The US is forced to operate in a gray zone, matching China's pressure with its own. The cycle is vicious. More tension, more risk, more opportunity for disaster. The greatest threat may not be a deliberate attack, but a single error with global consequences. The South China Sea is a tinderbox, and the crashes have raised the stakes. The greatest danger now is miscalculation. One wrong move, one misunderstood signal could trigger war. Commanders on both sides face split-second decisions, their actions shaped by incomplete information and immense pressure. Political leaders are boxed in by public expectations and nationalist fervor. Each side sees its actions as defensive, the others as provocative. The security dilemma deepens. Every move to increase security is seen as a threat by the other. The cycle of escalation is hard to break. The crashes have injected new fear and mistrust into an already volatile situation. The cost of a single mistake has never been higher. The world stands on edge, hoping cooler heads will prevail. The shockwaves from the crashes rattled America's allies across the Indo-Pacific. For countries like the Philippines, Vietnam, and Malaysia, the U.S. presence is their security guarantee. Now that guarantee looks vulnerable. Japan and Australia, treaty allies, are forced to reconsider their own roles and readiness. ASEAN faces pressure to unite, but divisions run deep. Smaller nations are caught between two giants, reliant on the U.S. for security, but economically tied to China. The incident makes the threat of great power conflict real, not theoretical. Their stability and prosperity now hang in the balance. The region is a potential battlefield for a war no one wants. The choices made in Washington and Beijing will shape their fate. As the search for answers continues, one thing is clear. The Indo-Pacific has changed forever. The dual crashes mark a turning point. The rivalry between the US and China is now open, dangerous, and unpredictable. For the US, it's a wake-up call, demanding new strategy and resolve. For China, it's a risky gambit that could backfire, uniting its rivals. The shadow of these downed aircraft will stretch far into the future. The South China Sea is no longer just a map, it's a live-fire zone where great powers collide. The immediate crisis may pass, but the competition will only intensify. The world has entered a new era, and the outcome is far from certain.